Hi, Richard. I'm from NETV in India. Nice to
Oh, yeah.
meet you. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, all good. So everyone's been talking about your classic costume, obviously. So I was wondering, were there any inputs that you had when it was being designed? And if there weren't, what would you have wanted in it?
I had no input whatsoever, and the costume designer sent me a picture, a drawing of myself in, with muscles. And so when I got to Atlanta for the costume fittings, I thought, I'm going to have a muscle suit finally, because I was born without any. And so I had to argue, and I say, but your drawing is a guy with muscles like the original Jack Kirby illustrations from the 60s, but this costume is just me in tights and thing without and a cape without any muscles. She said, no, just be fine like that. So that was my great disappointment that I never got to have those. Anyway, it worked out. It was a hugely enjoyable job to do.
Right. So you recently shared the costume and the story about your father as well on Twitter. So I was wondering if you wanted to sort of expand on the sort of the context of it.
Well, he said to me when he died when he was 53 and I was 24 years old, and he said to me when I told him that I really wanted to spend my life being an actor professionally, he said, do you really think that you can make a living doing this? He was very worried about that, understandably, because the unemployment rates for actors are so traditionally high.
Right.
And he said, do you also want to spend your life wearing makeup and tights? Laughingly. And I said, Dad, the majority of parts, you won't have to do that. But, here I am at 64, talking to a heel and having to say, yes, I am wearing tights and I am wearing a minimal amount of makeup. So, he was right. So I owe him one. But I have earned a good living doing it. So I feel, he'd be relieved about that.
That's good. So another thing was with the, when we were talking to everyone before the show was announced, or sorry, before it was released, everyone was talking about these Loki lectures, right? So I was wondering if you had your own version of those with Hiddleston.
Did I have any own version of what?
The Loki lectures, like where Tom Hiddleston
Oh,
basically
yes,
gave everyone a background on, yeah.
Yeah, he is a walking Wikipedia of all things Loki and Norse legends. I mean, he is extraordinary. Have you interviewed him?
We spoke to him like in part of like a round table with like the director and everyone.
Yeah, I mean, he's extraordinary. There's nothing that Tom does not know about Loki, and because he's played him for over a decade, he's very invested intellectually and emotionally in this part. So, and his passion for playing Loki and his enthusiasm for it is completely undiminished. He seems as fired up and enthusiastic on the first day that I worked with him as he must have been, over 10 years before. So I never had to go to the comics. I never had to go to Wikipedia or Google or anything to find out, read books. I just asked Tom, and he was, walking information central. He was brilliant.
Right. Sort of in that space as well, like I was wondering who pitched you this show? Like, what was the first call that you got from someone at Marvel or Disney? And what did it sort of take to convince you to sort of come on board?
I had seen and known Tom socially over the last decade or so, and we'd always joked about wanting to work together and certainly play, father and son in something, because we have similar hairlines, and he's very tall and slim, and it seemed like a good match. So when I got the script sent and saying, would you do an episode of Loki playing classic Loki with Tom, I jumped at it. So it was a decision that took about 4 nanoseconds to make. I said, yes, of course.
That's great. So I was wondering, can we expect to see more of you later? This like only one episode to go now. Or can we expect to see if like Marvel calls you down the line for some other multiverse appearance somewhere? Like, would you be willing to sort of say yes to that?
I have no idea. It's not happened. So, but if it did, yes, I'm open to all offers.
That's great. So another thing I've sort of noticed is that even though you sort of had this long indie career sorts, like recently in the past 4 years, you've done an X-Men movie in Logan, and you did Star Wars, and now you're doing Loki with Marvel. So like, is there sort of like a intentional sort of like drive away from what you've been sort of doing for decades and decades, or is it just like happening on
Not
its
at all.
own?
It's just it's I think that I know very few actors that can say they've planned out their career. It is literally opportunities as they've come, and I've taken them. So, and that's how it worked out. There is no master plan here whatsoever. I wish that there was.
Is there something though on your bucket list, like do you want to explore which you haven't explored?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I'd like to have muscles in a job. A muscle suit. That's what I would like.
You should pitch that someone to like act for Loki season 2 or something. So the final thing I think I have is that Loki sort of has been compared to, Doctor Who at times, because of the way the show is functioning early on. And so as someone who has been part of Doctor Who yourself, I was wondering, how do you sort of see now that you've sort of been in both universes?
I think that gender fluidity is something that is in both of them, and this endless ability to reinvent and to come back, which seems to be innate in all human beings. We would love to be able to reinvent ourselves, or to live eternally, or certainly to live longer than the time span that we have in our lives. So I think that's why these characters in these universes have such a deep appeal to us, that goes right back to your childhood, that you can open a door and go into a phone box or go through a portal, and somehow you'll be somewhere else. It's what we've done since we were kids, walking under a table, with a piece of fabric and going, now I'm somewhere else, now I'm invisible. I think that's just innate in us.
Right. So we get a bit of backstory about Classic Loki in the episode 5 when he talks to the other Lokis about it. So I was wondering, is there more to that which you sort of developed with the directors and writers, sort of off screen?
No, not at all. I just absolutely went by what the script says, and what I zoned in on was when he says, apart from him self-proclaimed being God of mischief, he says he's the God of outcasts. And I thought that is absolutely key to, I suppose, emphasizing how lonely he is. That is essentially what gets him arrested by the TVA, is because he longs for company, and that's what brings him back out of isolation.
Right. Thank you so much. That's all the questions I have. All the best for everything.
Thank you very much
Have
indeed.
a good day.
Okay.
Bye.